Good evening, y'all. This is Spencer Keck coming at you live from the Hillbilly Think Tank. I am the educated hillbilly. No, that's not an oxymoron. Don't call me a moron. There have been educated, erudite, and emancipated hillbillies ever since my ancestors came through the Cumberland Gap with Daniel Boone. And you know what? We've stayed that way. So, y'all, as I said, I am Spencer Keck, coming at you live from Tunnel Hills here in Hardin County, Kentucky, where life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is what it's all about. Any government entity that wants to tell you you can't have that, well, they need to know it's time for them to shove it. So that's what we value here in Hardin County, and I'm running for magistrate in District 3. And that's what I aim to make sure we always have. Free and available anywhere we are. All right, y'all. Well, y'all, we know that not too long ago, back in 2001, towards the end of that year, there is a horrible, horrible tragedy that befell our nation. I happened to be on deployment with the Marines when it happened. So I was one of the first ones into Pakistan and Afghanistan to fight the enemy that had struck us a heavy blow. Now, we also know that the federal government loves running surveillance on U.S. citizens, all in the name of keeping us safe. So those last few months of the year 2001, they saw a flurry of federal legislation that led to the feds being given intrusive power to dig into our private life. It was also at the same time that Congress abrogated their constitutional duty to wield the power to declare war or not declare war when they gave the executive branch under G.W. Bush the blank check power to declare an endless war if it is couched as war on terror. Doesn't all war invoke terror? Well, that was the power that gave the following presidents the power to wage war without congressional approval and maintain forever wars. It also gave a rise to a massive surveillance state that has not been reined in, but has in fact been placed on steroids, as the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, and all intelligence agencies have bloated budgets. And one of the three aforementioned entities, Department of Homeland Security, has a standing army named ICE with a budget 3 times as large as the Marine Corps. And it's using military tactics and surveillance power on our own citizens. Once the federal government can take away the liberties of its citizens, it does not give those liberties back that easily. Should President Obama have given Congress an urging push to take back the laws that gave us the Patriot Act? Of course. Any attacks on the U.S., though, would have been blamed on him. Should we have asked Congress to eliminate the presidential blank check to wage war without congressional approval? Of course. But this would have been seen as weak if Obama had done it. Could Captain Bone Spurs have done the same thing during both of his terms? Of course. But be it far from him to give up a bludgeon that he can wield against his domestic political rivals. Well, you know, many folks now are saying, hey, we are about 25 years nearly removed from that horrible day in September. And so we're realizing we're losing far too many liberties that we're never going to get back if it keeps on going. And with artificial intelligence only growing stronger, and as I talked about the other day, very little pushback has been given to rein in AI or to make sure that we're only building ethical AI. The time is now for us to reconsider FISA and the Patriot Act. So there are bipartisan efforts underway right now to rein in what has become unmanageable when it comes to how citizens are treated by their own government. So we've got, again, two what would seem to be unlikely partners, Thomas Massie and Rep. Ro Khanna, are working hard to push back on the FISA Act. So let's listen to what they have to say. Again, this is bipartisan. It's not just Democrats, it's also serious Republicans realizing they have to get serious if they're going to call themselves libertarians, even. They've got to get serious about bringing back our civil liberties. So let's hear them talk about it.
See pushback from privacy-minded lawmakers on both the left and the right who say the government should need to get a warrant before accessing information on Americans that gets swept up if they communicate with foreign targets.
House Speaker Mike Johnson has advocated repeatedly for FISA, calling it a critical national security tool. President Trump called for getting rid of FISA in the past, arguing that the FBI misused the law to spy on his 2016 campaign. But he's since changed his stance, saying on Truth Social that it keeps Americans safe when used correctly.
The House voted.
Of course, to him, using it correctly is to go after his political opposition. So, yeah, it's only bad if he sees it being used to go after him, he thinks. Well, now he's all for it. He loves the surveillance state, especially when it's his private army, ICE.
At 1 a.m. Friday morning, rejected the proposed 5-year extension of the measure. Nearly all Democrats voted against it, and they were joined by 20 Republicans. Representative Ro Khanna posted this video on X as he headed back to the Capitol last night for the vote.
There really is not a philosophical debate here. A yes vote is a vote to give Donald Trump more power over American citizens. A no vote is a vote to stand up to Donald Trump. Every Democrat should be a no on the reauthorization of FISA.
The 10-day extension on the measure will now head to the Senate, where it would need to be approved and sent to President Trump's desk by the Monday deadline. FISA is very controversial.
It is. And to both sides of the aisle.
Yes.
There's a lot, especially because what's come out about the Americans that have had their their information accessed, including the president.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of pushback about what it was created for in 1978 versus how it's being implemented. And I think the backdoor search part of it was a big issue. The fact that there's a database of tons of Americans' information that then the powers that be will go and comb through after the fact, and the investigation on some foreign agent is done. But now they have access to all these messages from Americans that were part of this investigation, and they still can use that in any way.
Right.
And I think Americans do want foreign actors surveilled, but also want to feel like they're protected in that. And if there's not any, again, the theme of today's show has been checks and balances.
Yes.
But if there's not any of that, then why would we want to? I mean, nobody wants to feel like they're in like the Big Brother state.
Right.
But we are in the Big Brother state. We're in the nanny state. And what has made us so big of a nanny state? The Patriot Act. So we really want to get rid of the nanny state. We've got to get active, and we've got to get active now. We've got 20 Republicans who are pushing back. So even though Johnson decided, hey, he wants to punt this thing, and he did punt this thing, well, it turns out there are some serious Republicans who are saying, yeah, you know what? punting is what we've been doing far too long now, and let's get serious. So thank God there are some people there who realize it's time for bipartisan activity on this, right? But they are punting it down to April 30th. That's not very much time for us to get serious about pushing back. Get serious also because right after April 30th, we've got a time that we need to vote. It's the primary time. And if you see that your representative or your senator is not voting for your rights to come back to you and your liberties to be brought back to you, then it is time for you to get out there and get someone elected onto the ballot that will push back. So if you've got a senator that loves them some Patriot Act and loves them some FISA, you need to elect a counter to that. So the primary is the time to get the person with the cojones, whether male or female, that will slam this down and get it out of here. I'll be very surprised if come April 30th, Johnson is just going to all of a sudden be all for restoring our liberties. But again, Congress punted this surveillance powers after a long-term extension failed. They tried to make it a 2:00 morning override of all the opposition. But thank goodness, those 20 Republican senators and all the Democrats were ready, and it failed because they tried to backdoor it on us after the lights were out. But that didn't work. But we've got to stay on this. We've got to realize they're not interested in doing the right thing, right? That's not at all what's paying them. So there are big companies making big money off of this surveillance. All right, let me see who I have on here tonight before I continue. Coffee Cats, thanks for coming on tonight. Coffee Cats saying, hey, everyone, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Yes, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I need that almost as much as I need your vote in November for magistrate. All right. Chad says, Congress is weak. They need to grow a pair. Exactly. They need those cojones and repeal the AUMFs. Also vote for Iran war per Article 1. All right. What is Cool Cat saying? With artificial intelligence, we don't need any newscasters anymore. Take a putty artificial person doing the news, save millions of dollars with artificial intelligence. All right. Tom, good to see you on here, Tom. Watching this while sitting with my MIL so she can watch Thunderous Wretched Excess over Louisville on the TV. I had planned on being there, but I was out of town just until recently. I went down to Nashville today. Didn't want to go up north after I got back. Cool Cat, would you believe they could make a whole movie inside a computer studio without having stars on location? Find AI, artificial intelligence. Yeah, I believe it. I know it. WestJet 2010. Hi, how's it going there, buddy? All right. So, David says, America's enemies are spending billions to get Americans to hate Trump. Oh, okay. Well, they don't need to spend any money, really, to for us to see the truth of what's going on. You know, I mean, I'm just not into pedophiles. That's all. Chad says, David, Trump's decisions make Americans hate him. We don't need any more help. LOL. Yeah. Chad also says, I do not support any type of FISA. Take it to a traditional judge and keep it sealed if need be. There you go. That's what we have that system for. And we've got Walter Dolphins on here saying, sup, what's up? And we got Verona Levi saying, thanks for sharing. Copycats. Yeah, Trump makes us hate him all on his own. Yep. All right. So now, in addition, let's see. We've got national and international surveillance of Americans authorized by FISA and the Patriot Act. And yet, who does this benefit? Who's making money off of our information? Well, there's some people making a whole lot of money on sharing and selling our information. And it's not you and me, at least not normally. It's these folks. So Trump and the Republicans raised taxes on 95% of Americans in order to cut taxes for the richest 5%. Yeah, all these billionaires here. They're cutting their taxes, but raising ours, right? We need a wealth tax. That's what we need on all these folks right here. At least 20%. That's what we need. Especially if they're going to keep on insisting that we have these forever wars. Yeah. Now, this surveillance state that's growing and growing and growing. This is something that more and more of us have really got to wake up, because they're using our own Ring cameras as flock cameras and acting like it is to help us find our little puppy dogs when they're lost. But again, it's more the nanny state, the surveillance state, and it is not something that we need the government to be able to do at all times. You know, when I was growing up, I was told how evil it was that in communist Soviet Union, Russia, communist China, and communist Cuba, the governments love to make neighbors spy on neighbors and turn each other in. How evil that communist system was. And it is. But here we are now accepting it in our own system as if it is something to keep us safe. You don't think that's what the commies tell their citizens? We're just keeping you safe. Spy on each other. That's what you got to do. That's all you got to do. We'll keep you safe. If you allow us to have this power, if you allow us to take away this liberty, we'll keep you safe. Right.
We've given away over $1 million worth of stuff. We've gone into neighborhoods, actually personally, both of us, done it together, installed them on people's houses that have had crime issues in crime-ridden areas. And so doing that kind of stuff.
All of this accompanied the launch of the Ring Neighbors app, which more or less combined the cameras with a social media network. But the app that people living in these neighborhoods didn't usually see or even know existed was the police access portal, where law enforcement could utilize the data volunteered through the Neighbors app to cross-reference with police reports and criminal records.
Welcome to Ring Neighborhoods Portal, a community-supported crime-fighting tool for law enforcement. You can enter an address and time frame of interest and see a map of active cameras in your chosen area and time. No more going door to door to look for cameras and asking for footage. When you select a case, you see a map and timeline of available videos and captured security events related to that case. In future versions, we will also be enabling Ring's smart search functionality that will allow for suspicious activity detection and person recognition.
That may not even sound that problematic if you've never spent time on apps like Neighbors or Nextdoor, but with
So what'd that say there? Oh, black people in the neighborhood. Be careful. That's what people are sharing with each other.
Available videos and captured security events related to that case. In future versions, we will also be enabling Ring's smart search functionality that will allow for suspicious activity detection and person recognition.
That may not even sound that problematic if you've never spent time on apps like
Beware, I spotted 3 African-American young men riding their bicycles on Crawford Avenue. I approached them and told them we are here. God forbid any minorities enter our neighborhood.
neighbors are next door, but within a couple of minutes of it, you'll get a really good understanding of why
That
the
was pure
Constitution
irony,
is a
of
thing.
course.
As the company scaled in
part.
the direction of government surveillance, customers and journalists started taking note. When Amazon acquired Ring in 2018 for $1.1 billion, the war declarations and edgy language seemed to simmer down a notch, but the company continued to comply with subpoenas and give customer data and footage to police without requiring a warrant or the customer's consent. After the pandemic and the George Floyd protests, worried that privacy concerns would harm sales, Amazon carefully took a step back from its direct relationship with police. Jamie Siminoff stepped down from his CEO position, and by January 2024, Ring stopped allowing police to request data from the Neighbors app entirely. This was seen as a big win by privacy advocates and customers alike, but Ring wasn't giving up on this strategy. They were seemingly just removing themselves from the controversy regarding it. Instead of directly providing law enforcement with an interface to download customer data, they would partner with companies that were in the business of aggregating and selling data to the government, like Axon and Flock Safety. Jamie Siminoff stepped back into Ring leadership, and it wouldn't be long before his employees got his controversial emails again, this time using an emotional reference to Charlie Kirk's murder to highlight how important it was to roll out another community request tool for police. And not long after that, this happened.
One post of a dog's photo in the Ring app starts outdoor cameras looking for a match. Search Party from Ring uses AI to help families find lost dogs. Available to everyone.
A lot of people weighed in after seeing that Super Bowl ad, worried about privacy.
Still, the ad is enough for some people to turn away from the company altogether.
They want nothing to do with this technology.
The plan to use people's love of their pets as a way to roll out and introduce an invasive technology backfired, to say the least. Channels like this one have been pleading with people to defend their right to privacy for a really long time, and somehow Ring accomplished this in under 30 seconds. People of all demographics and political leanings and walks of life saw this ad, looked at their Ring cameras and said, wait, what if they tracked me this way? And they weren't paranoid for thinking this at all. In emails obtained by 404 Media, Jamie Siminoff proudly said that the searchlight feature is first for finding dogs, insinuating that it will expand to other subjects. And all of this is happening as Ring is rolling out its facial recognition features. This is just my opinion, but it seems to me that it is very much within Ring's interest to distance themselves from government-related privacy concerns. After all, they're selling you the cameras that could be used against you, and you're paying them a monthly fee to keep them working with these features. They need to appear as your friend. And that's probably why their partnership with Flock Safety was terminated shortly after that controversial ad aired. But there is nothing that suggests that ending the Flock partnership ends the Community Requests program or Ring's posture regarding working with law enforcement.
So, yeah, big wake-up call, I believe. But, again, how does this tie in to FISA? Well, quite easily. Under the Patriot Act, all they have to do is trump up a charge against you and start tracking you. And again, people from both parties are smart enough to realize this is not good. Doesn't matter which party you belong to or don't belong to, independent, Republican, Democrat, Green Party, doesn't matter. This is not a good thing. This is multi-partisan, not just bipartisan issue. And so that's why we have right now a halt and a punt on voting on this. Now, even like it said at one time, the president was against this because this type of activity was used against him previously, not in this term, but in a previous term. So why the sudden turnaround for him? Why is he now demanding that everyone do something about this in Congress and keep FISA rolling? Well, let's see.
Exact same laws that were abused and exploited to target Carter Page, go to these secret FISA courts, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, and you get these judicial warrants to spy on people on the basis that you're investigating non-Americans on foreign soil, and they have been massively abused on Trump himself. And
So there
the
we
question
go.
is now, why would anyone agree to a clean extension of these very laws that is currently being contemplated? It was the exact same laws that.
So this again was used against the president You didn't like it back then. Oh, but now that he's in power, he's A-okay with it and wants more of it because he knows his ICE is using it. And he sure doesn't want ICE to lose that power, does he? Well, what are we going to do about it? Nothing? Are we just going to watch them punt it and allow them to punt it? Come on, guys. We've got 20 Republicans. That is 12 more days to get 50 or 100 Republicans. If we all flood their email boxes and their voicemail boxes, or talk to them personally on the phone or in their office and tell them, hey, quit punting it, bring back life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as our chief goals in this democracy in a republic. Got to do it.
6 months, there is a dramatic fight that's going to brew within Congress. It's called 702. There was the Patriot Act and something called the Section 702, which is basically a FISA, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act method of basically wiretapping the internet. And it was never supposed to be mass collection. And I actually helped write or helped review some of the Patriot Act and the FISA laws for the proposed laws. But this was supposed to be a tool that was there for stopping the next Osama bin Laden. And this tool basically allows the federal government to search phone records without a search warrant. Unfortunately, what's happened now is it's come out in Congress that the Bureau is using this Foreign Intelligence Act to actually get data for hundreds of thousands of people. In fact, the FBI was actually basically pulling electronic information from a U.S. senator. In the next 6 months, there is a tremendous...
So, it's not just us. Once the senators realize they're also vulnerable to this, and it can be used against them, no matter what party you're in, then surely we will wake up and do something about it. But in the meantime, if you're asking what you can do, download the app, 5 calls. And with that 5 calls, it'll give you a script and the numbers of your senators, your representatives, and you can call them, email them, and constantly keep this in, like I said, their email box, their voicemail box, or make sure that their representative writes down what you say about the FISA Act. Make sure you give them your name and number so they can, can't deny that they've been contacted, and they will have to do something about it, at least to acknowledge and recognize there is a rising tide that's about to either sweep them away or help solidify their accomplishments for the United States of America. So that's what we can do. All right. Yeah, exactly. And they call the left commies when it is the guardians of the pedophiles that's allowing groups like Ring, Palantir, and all these companies that want to collect our information to weaponize it against us. We don't need to put up with this crap. All right, what does Tom say? Tom says 100% on every penny over $10 million in worth, not income, every year. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, absolutely, Tom. That's what we need to do for the for the billionaires. Absolutely. Get back to the way it was pre-Reagan, when we had good roads, not just good roads, the greatest roads. We weren't blowing our tires out, breaking our axles on the worst potholes, back then. But ever since we got trickle down Reaganomics, they've spent less and less and less and nearly zero in infrastructure. And who's been very proud of not supporting infrastructure? Mitch McConnell. All right. David says Soviet propaganda gave us the American hippie in the 60s. Ha, ha, ha. Very, yeah. Well, Nick Piper, I can't imagine. Well, Nick, that's fine. You can just go on ahead and keep on voting for the guardians of the pedophile. Ryan, MAGA voted for their government to spy on them. And that's exactly it. They're absolutely fine with it. But we got to call out Democrats too, because this could have been reined in previous iterations over the last few years. The couple times that we have had the votes to do it, but we didn't do it. Everyone was running scared and buying into the nanny state and that the state is going to keep us safe. Well, it's time now that we realize, nope, we've got to rein it in or we'll never get it back again. Ryan, they paid for it too. Yeah. So Ryan says Trump gave Palantir an 800, it looks like million, dollar contract to create a database and spy on every American, or is that billion? That's your tax dollars that paid for it. Absolutely. And it's obvious from what the president is saying, underneath the East Wing that he was trying to build and was and is building, they're going to have a data center. Look at Palantir, one who gave money for that wing. Amazon gave money for that wing. All the folks that gave money for that wing, they're expecting something in return, and it's going to be that bunker that they're going to be involved in getting into and laying low in as soon as it's built with their data centers down there. Ashpin, let's see. Ashpinter says what? Okay, funny. Joe Biden wrote the Patriot Act. He was the one who wrote legislation to spy on Americans. Well, this was written under George Bush's administration. So, yeah, that was under Bush. And that was when Bush had the majority in Congress. So I don't know, I'm sure what you're talking about there. Maybe your sphincter doesn't know what it's talking about there, buddy. Ryan, we won't do anything about it because we're sissies. Yeah, sadly, true. Everyone is running scared and would rather give up our liberties in the name of safety. So, sphincters talking again. Biden also helped write the 90s crime bill that mass incarcerated people for nonviolent crimes with mandatory minimums, then invested in private prisons. Well, definitely do know that that investment in private prisons by corporate Democrats and the guardians of the pedophiles has made us the most highly incarcerated population in the world. We incarcerate more people than the Russians, than the Chinese, even than Yemen. So, yeah, that is a problem. You are correct on that one, Sphincter says. Check legislative voting records for 24-25 on who opposed sex offender laws. Ryan says it's too late. The Constitution failed. Well, the Constitution has not failed us. We have failed the Constitution by being sissies and by letting this president and more grab us by the pussy. That's what's been happening. We just let them grab us by the pussy and squeeze, and we've done nothing about it. So that is the problem on both parties. Instead of standing up with a backbone for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, we'll give up our liberties if they promise us safety. Safety from what and who? We've got the strongest military in the world. We have a strong spy apparatus overseas where it should be. Yeah. Now, they got us. Michael says Trump forced Intel to give a percentage to the government. Yeah. Michael, 90% tax rate. America was great. Yeah, that's true. When they started off under President Eisenhower, a Republican. They started off with a 90% tax rate on the top 5% richest people in the United States, which were the richest in the world. Then they complained, so they dropped it to 80% all the way to Reagan. And from Eisenhower, during the I like Ike years of the 50s, all the way to the 80s, we had great roads, we had strong unions, good paying jobs, but then starting with Nixon, but coming to its culmination under Reagan, they decided, hey, we're not going to allow these strong unions to represent the American people, and we're not going to encourage government of the people, by the people, and for the people anymore. We're going to send all of our jobs overseas to China and other countries that will cripple the American working man and woman. That took our power from us. Ryan, Biden passed a $1 trillion infrastructure bill. Then Trump killed it. Absolutely, Ryan. And the unfortunate thing is Biden did not know how to brag about the bill like that. Although he did when he was over in the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati bridge that needed to be rebuilt because it's about to fall down and crash down with a bunch of cars on it in the highly traveled highway. He said, hey, at the ribbon cutting, oh, I know that talking about, of course, Mitch McConnell and our other GOP folks, he said, I know you guys did not vote for this, but you're going to be here clapping for it and cutting the ribbon for it, acting like you did. So, yeah, but that infrastructure bill was creating jobs. But here we go. Can't have that. All right. Old guy in North Carolina. Reagan did eliminate the unions. Absolutely. Absolutely decimated them. So it was the Patriot Act George Bush II came up with. Absolutely. I know it. Patriot Act under George Bush. He came up with it. And then they also decided to give the president the power to declare war at any time he wanted to, if they said it was against terrorism. And we haven't had a president since him turn it backwards like it should be and send it back to Congress having the power that's written in the Constitution to declare war. Larson says, Democrats split America rather than fix anything. Well, yeah, I don't think so, Larson. But you can go on ahead and keep on believing that, not just helping out those pedophiles. And no, 99% of people in the Epstein files are not Democrats. But any of them that are, put them in jail. Unlike the president and the Department of Justice, I don't care what your party is. If you're in the Epstein files, send them to jail. So, yep, George Bush, Republican, voted for both of those things we're talking about, created the surveillance state, created the perpetual wars. An old guy saying, yeah, I remember the concern when the Department of Homeland Security was created, ostensibly to protect us from terrorists. And those concerns have proven correct. Yeah. Yep. The concerns about Department of Homeland Security exactly have shown to be correct. Instead, we created a secret police in our country. Largest legislation sure came soon after 9/11, says Larson. Yeah. There was more than one author to the Patriot Act. Yeah. Yeah. Granted, both sides decided to let them grab us by the pussy and have not given up since then. So Tom says, oh, Biden still carries blame for how he treated Anita Hill. Saying he's a centrist is disingenuous. Ryan says the song Compliance by Muse explains it all. And yeah, I'm going to have to go check that one out as soon as we're done here. I would play it on here, but then YouTube would flag this episode, and it wouldn't get disseminated. Republicans have decimated organized labor. They sure have. Larson. Well, his so-called lost mind was much better than the current president's mind. That's for sure. The FBI and Department of Justice have actually been weaponized. Yes, they have. And they are weaponizing the surveillance system against us citizens. And again, it is time for us to take it back. All right, y'all. Let's take a little break. And it is planting season. And as I've said here before, one of the things I'm intent on doing this year is becoming a locavore. That is eating food that I grow myself, so I know what the chemicals that are not on my food, and I can make sure I have safe, quality food. Or I'm going to buy it from local farmers that I know are growing safe, local food. I'm going to eat things grown locally with no carbon footprint from me. I'm not going to buy stuff that's shipped to my house 1,500 miles or more away from where it was grown. So it is planting season. And before the rain came in, we were lucky enough. I wish there had been quite a bit more rain. We didn't get much here at my house. But we did get some planting in. We got some veggies that I plan on picking at least 9 months out of this year if I do it right. And hopefully I can let you guys see what we've been doing from when we initially planted it up till the day that we start our first harvest and last harvest. Let's see here. All right. So we're trying to get our organic gardening going. We're going to do the no-till method this year. That's where we had our garden last year. Got, I guess, kind of a natural cover crop there. And hopefully this will work for us. We got some tomatoes, some peppers, zucchini squash, lettuce, broccoli, and then now we're just going to plant all kinds of stuff. We got marigolds. I heard that that'll protect us from the aphids and other things. I'm trying to get all those flowers that are naturally deterrent to pests. And we're going to plant our beans with our corn, let them fertilize each other, see if this will really work. Hopefully it will. Yeah. Got to do this, and then got our backyard chickens back there you might be able to see. And yeah, we're just hoping we can make this work, be true locavores this season. All right. You got Summer there going at it. She's having a good time. All right, y'all. So hopefully you guys were able to get out, enjoy some of this interesting weather we've been having. A little bit too hot for me before today, but hey, that is what it is. Hopefully we'll get a little more rain, get those seeds going. And y'all, let's remember to have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. We've got to take it back from the billionaires. There's just, no other way of cutting it. So you've got to decide next month when it's time for the primaries, who is truly going to represent you in this government of the people, by the people, and for the people? Who is just willing to keep the surveillance state going, and who is willing to push back, stop the surveillance state, bring back power to the people, take it away from the pedophiles and their elites, and make sure that we have one justice system for everyone, and that everything we do is only to allow us and foster us having more life, more liberty, and more pursuit of happiness. All right, so y'all, don't forget, Kentucky, we say, united we stand, divided we fall. And we will not be divided if we love our neighbors as ourselves. And in doing so, we recognize, hey, I'm my brother's keeper and I'm my sister's keeper. Then we can't be divided and we cannot fall prey to the guardians of the pedophile. So, all right, Bryant, yep, interesting point. Definitely, it's kind of what I'm saying tonight. Y'all, bless your corazon. Have a great rest of the weekend. And remember those that are deployed everywhere overseas tonight and during this whole period until they come back home. And let's bring them back home.
He's doing it.